What you are here today to hear about is at the heart of what we do, which is our Kind Campus and our Kindness Education Program. So I am going to pass that on over to Autumn, who is our Director of Development and Community Outreach.
So we have two amazing humans who have grown up with Kind Campus, who have had kindness instilled in their world from a young age. And that's through the Kind Campus programming that we're going to talk a little bit about today. So I'm going to introduce the two of them for you, and I have their little bios here. First, this is the only time to make you stand up. I'm so sorry. Audrey's like, come on, Autumn. I've known her for a while. So Audrey, would you stand up and let me just tell about you for a second? So this is Audrey. She is a 7th grader at Lawrence Cross Middle School. She attended Innovation Academy, which has one of our highest doses of Kind Campus for elementary school. She was the president of their student council in 5th grade, and she promoted Kind Campus in everything she did. And she'll share some of those ideas with us today. Give a little love for Audrey being up here. And the amazing Hannah, I'll let you stand up for just a second too. I know, you do hard things on a Saturday morning, right? So Hannah is a student at Gallego Intermediate Fine Arts Magnet School. And for elementary school, she attended Gallego Primary, where she participated in Kind Campus activities and helped move things forward at her school kindly for 3 years. So lots of love for Hannah as well. And we have the teachers who were the ones who said they really should be the ones to share with us, because they're actually going to answer some questions and give some ideas from a student's perspective about Kind Campus. And so I know Nikki has a loud enough voice she can probably project from there. And Claudia, I'll let you choose if you want a microphone or if you want to project yourself. You can project. I love y'all teachers. All right. So I'll let Nikki go first. Tell me why you think Audrey is the perfect student to be up here in front of everyone.
So I met Audrey when she was really little, but 3rd grade is when I really met her. She started doing things with student council. By 5th grade, she was our student council president, and she's like, we need more kindness. She started this whole initiative at Innovation called IA Days of Kindness, so Innovation Academy Days of Kindness. So for 8 days, we were intentionally focused on kindness. She came up with all these activities with other kids. So she wasn't like, these were my ideas, these are our ideas. And more than that, because other kids had followed her, she made sure they happened, and I didn't do the work. She did the work. She's like, well, now we got to do this. It's 2 weeks before that. And she really could plan it and had the mindset. She, there's this thing, leave people in places and things better than you found them. At Innovation, Audrey made sure, and she did it with the group, so it's not just her, but she led it. She made sure there is a bell in every single room of our campus, so that when you walk in, the first thing you know is that there's kindness there. So I would say that is what Audrey did for us.
Thank you.
And when she was in 4th grade, I got to meet her. She was like, kind of started it. We started our club because one student wanted to start it. She saw some things that needed to change with the bullying and whatnot, and so we were like, okay, fine, let's do it. Hannah came aboard and she just blew me away. I was like, okay, Hannah, these are some ideas that I have. She was like, yeah, let's go bigger and better. I was like, okay. So the one thing that she headed was our chain of kindness. So every lunch, and she took it on her lunch, it was never mine. Some days I forgot. She was like, where's the supplies and say something. I was like, oh, yeah, no, that's right. She would do it every lunch. She would go to all of her tables that were in there. She had a little group that she worked with every day. She's also our Be Kind president, and she really not only with the students that have in the club, but with the community that we have with our students. And she wants it to just be bigger and better, and wants everyone to feel like it's one united program. So that's why I chose Hannah, because she's head of everything. And I look to her and she's the one who organizes me. not me yet. Thank you.
I know it's hard when you hear people talk about you, right? We talked about that earlier, so thank you for being gracious as people talk about you. So the first question we're going to let both of you share is what kindness means to you. Okay, so who wants to go first? Yeah, this one. Here's what's great. Everyone in the students chosen to be here. They're all super kind, and if you want to look at me while you talk, totally cool. If you want to turn around, that's good.
Kindness means to me that you're respectful and we show that you're compassionate and you know what's right from wrong. Kindness means a lot of different things, but I think the main one is making other people's day, whether it's a compliment or just smiling.
Yeah, think about So today when we talk about kindness, there's a few different angles that we're going to look at. And some of this may be new for us. Some of it may be something we've heard about, or we might teach parts of it as Kind Campus educators. And so when we want to look at these different angles, we want to think a few things. One, you're creating a Kind Campus for your students, right? So that's one piece we will talk about today. However, you also are creating a kind culture of staff and educators that rely on each other, look forward to coming to work each day because you depend on each other and trust each other. And so if that isn't happening, right, it's not just the environment for the kids. You can't create, I dare say, that environment for children unless you trust and respect each other as peers with a center of kindness at your foundation. Okay? So we're going to talk a little bit about, yes, the nuts and bolts of Kind Campus, and Liz will come up at the end and talk about how we register, what's new. And today, for my part, we're going to talk about being a good human, helping each other, some things we grapple with kindness, and our gals are going to help us along the way. Okay? So the first thing that we'd like to talk about is that kindness can require skill. How many of y'all believe that statement or think that's true? So when you're born, are you either kind or not kind? Is that true? Some like, no, right? And for people who you see have kindness opportunities, we'll kind of call it, right? We all have those people in our lives that have kindness opportunities, right? Right? We can say it that way. It takes skill. It takes skill and it takes practice. So I'm going to read something to you, so I make sure I get this quote right from Lauren Howe, who says, "People may believe that their weaknesses will be lost over time." So think about that. If I'm not good at something, I'm just going to keep getting worse at it, right? Like how many of y'all ride a bike on a regular basis? All right? It's like, okay, how good would I be at that right now? But that their strengths are there to stay. So if I'm weak at something, it'll keep getting weaker if I don't practice it. But if I'm good at something, I'm good. Like, I'm good at driving a car. I can do that, right? I'm good at walking. I won't fall, right? Because of this, Lauren Howe says, we might not be very motivated to work on our strengths. So if we feel what she's saying, if we feel we are really good at something, we might not practice it. All of us in this room are kind people. I dare say you're some of the kindest people in Tucson because you're choosing to be here. You're choosing to not just do, but teach kindness on a daily basis, right? And that's something you're practicing. But for the average person, and we all know someone that they learn this much about something, and then all of a sudden, like they're an expert, like, oh, I made croissants for the first time. Let me tell you how good I am at making croissants, and the next time they don't like stay flaky, right? So, Dr. Howe says we need to recognize that it takes practice, and that it is a skill that we need to work on. So we'll let you go to the next one. Who are these amazing people? Does anyone know? Shout out. We've got Serena. Yo-yo mom over here. Yes, you got it. Okay. So here's this point that Dr. Howe is stating in a very fun way. Okay. Serena and Yo-yo mom, arguably the best at what they do. Right? The best. However, what do they still do every single day? They practice, right? That's exactly how kindness works. Even if you're the best at it, and Jeanette's right, our queen of kindness, right? She actively practices it every day and recognizes that some days that practice is a little harder, right? So I'm gonna let Monique go to the next one. Right? This is how we expect life to be. Today is a good day, I'm gonna be kind, right? And then you, as you're leaving the house, your coffee falls on your lap, right? And you don't have time because you're already running late. Bell's gonna ring at 8:20, right? You then get cut off no less than 4 times in traffic, right? There's construction. I mean, Tucson, it's likely you have construction on your way to school, right? And so all of these things happen. You get to the front door, your badge doesn't work to open the door. You have to wait for the office staff to open the door for you, and they're not there right now because they're putting out a small fire that has occurred on campus, right? Because office staff runs the world, like they put out fires, right? And so all this happens. This is our reality. This is the life we have. And yet at 8:10, 8:15, 8:20, you have to be on. You have to be kind. You have to be ready to inspire all these young minds. No pressure. You see this, like this is hitting hard here. She's like, yes, this is true. So we may start today and say, oh, I'm gonna be kind. This is me. And all this happens. And like sweet little Susie walks up and she's like, I am so sorry this hasn't happened since I was 3, but like, I might have just had an accident. I'm in 1st grade. And you're like, okay, I still haven't had my coffee because it's Lenten, right? So this is reality. This is our lives. I recognize it. I embrace it. What is one of the core things that can help us center and focus every single moment? Kindness. Kindness can bring us back to that, okay? And so thinking about that in the moment is hard, right? I'm seeing you like, oh, that's hard. But it's okay. It takes practice, and that's okay, right? So we'll let you, so life is messy is basically what I'm gonna say, and kindness is just one way to help you navigate through it. Here are 2 words, and I'm doing this, not so you look at me straight, because I really want us to grapple with this. I know I'm a very unconventional speaker, sorry about that. So we've got 2 words up here. We've got kind and nice. How many of you by a show of hands would feel grateful and good if a family member or a student or a peer called you nice? Like, hey, you know, Mr. Rentmeester is really nice. I know he keeps asking. Mr. Rentmeester is nice. Right? How many of you would feel good if someone said, you're kind, by a show of hands? All right, and how many of us, by a show of hands, and this is where we're really honest with ourselves, how many of us kind of feel like those 2 are used synonymous and it doesn't matter which one, right? Like, I'm nice, I'm kind, it's good. Call me both. Call me them all day long, right? So here's where we're going to have you grapple with this. And this is kind of a trick, and I apologize. I won't do this much to you today. Maybe one other time. So there is actually a distinct difference I want you to think about. I want you to maybe share this with someone else somewhere. Being nice is sometimes a little easier. It's the tactics we take when we are pleasers, when we are yes people, when we have 1,000 things on our plate. Someone comes in and asks if you can also go do bus duty at the end of the day, and you say, sure. Oh, well, that got Claudia, I saw that laugh, right? That never happens to you, right? So, nice is not rocking the boat. Nice is going with the flow. And oftentimes that is easier for all of us. Being kind is doing the hard work. Being kind is not always saying no. I don't expect you to go back and say, well, Aki told me I can say no to everything because I'm being kind, right? This is not the prescription I'm giving y'all, so hold on, right? So kindness is setting boundaries perhaps and saying, actually, I'm running the kindness club right after school. And there are going to be 20 students in my room, so I can't do bus duty, but can I help you find someone who can do that, right? It is hard to be kind, not nice, right? It sets your boundaries for you though, right? Perhaps you're co-teaching, right? Perhaps like at my school, we have a whole new 4th grade and they love each other, and so they have met and they're co-teaching, right? The classes go back and forth, they're learning the culture, they're doing all this great stuff together. And they work collaboratively. But what would happen if one of them was always the one doing the lesson plans? And always the one buying the supplies? And always the one showing up early, staying late to make that cohort successful? What starts to happen over time? If you don't share that with your peers, then that's disappointing. What starts to happen inside you every single little thing that happens over and over again? Resentment, right? You don't think about this out. This is obviously a conversation, not just me talking to you. Okay? So eventually resentment starts to happen. And then one day they show up 2 minutes late and it has gotten to here, and what happens? Whoosh, right? It's huge. It's awful. And so in order to keep that from happening, it's the small conversations, these small connections. And that's true with students as well, right? Kindness is setting expectations at the beginning of the school year. Kindness is making sure safety is happening, right? So your kindergartner's tooth doesn't get knocked out on day 3 of school. She's really cute with it. And so we create a safe space, we create a welcoming space, we create a kind space. But we also create an environment where children are learning so they can be safe in their outside environment too. Okay? Y'all have heard me saying it's not pretty. But did any of you know the Boundary song? Have you heard this one? Please stop. I don't like that. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I need some space. It's a cool song. It's a great song that teaches kids to be kind, not nice. It lets them know that if there's a child who's saying things that make them uncomfortable, that they can leave that environment. Or someone's being kind of rough with their body, they can leave that environment. Or if there's someone who wants to give them a hug that they haven't seen in 2 years and they're uncomfortable, that they have the right to say no thank you, right? So, Boundary song, YouTube it. It's really, really catchy to the point that now it's going to be in my head for the next 48 hours. I apologize to myself. Okay, so that's being kind, not nice. All right? All right, so something for us to think about. So here's my question for you. How many of you have had a time where you've been nice instead of kind? Is anybody, I've given some examples. Is anyone courageous enough to share a nice, not kind, and how that turned out for y'all? Claudia?
So, as I said before, I do work in the front office, and there's more than plenty of times that I have to be nice, not just to our parents, but sometimes to the staff. I love my staff, don't get me wrong, don't say anything to them, please. This is the thing that we should do with ourselves. And it did backfire, unfortunately, because that's what they expect, for it to just continue, for me to be nice, instead of them seeing that I have my parents at the window, I have 2 kids waiting for their, schedules, and still they come in and still ask, because that's the precedent that I have accent as that I was being nice, just to kind of clear things up with them instead of being kind.
That's a good example.
And that's the slippery slope, right? When we do it once or twice, then people expect us to do that, right? Okay, so I'm gonna ask you all a question. What would you do if your best friend looked like this? Okay, so what's the kind thing to do if your best friend comes in looking like this? What do you think? What if it's a perfect stranger?
Fixing yourself, I hear.
So what is the kind thing to do no matter what? Tell them. But if it's someone you've never met before, how uncomfortable is that? Right? Hi, nice to meet you. I noticed your zipper's down. That's awkward, right? That is uncomfortable, okay? But we commit together to practicing, right? It's not gonna be perfect every time. You maybe on a random Thursday might let someone leave your room with pepper in their teeth, and that's okay, right? But try to practice that kindness, even if it's hard. So, joking aside, try to be kind and be thoughtful about what nice looks like, okay? So, the next piece is just talking about who Ben Fells is and what kind of campus is. Kindness is the core of what we do and who we are. There are so many different things in your world we recognize that kindness is part of, right? How many of y'all have character strong? PBIS, right? There's all these things that are important in our world. They create an environment for amazing humans to leave our classroom. And they're mandatory. So how is Rentmeester, did I say that? Like, it's true, right? Like, here's your program that you, So I'm learning this year, instead of saying have to, I'm going to say get to. That is one of my things I'm working on, right? We're all practicing. So you get to teach Character Strong, PBIS, all these things that the district has mandated, right? And somewhere, somehow, someone said, this is important, and I agree. All of these different words, all these behaviors are very important. And it's hard to understand, how does Bensmel's dovetail into that? Where does it sit? I've talked to countless teachers and principals in the last month. I'm like, I love Kind Campus. I love our mural. I love all this stuff that we do. And because all of these things are required, how does it fit? How does this fit? Y'all are here, which means you believe in it. And we love you for that. And how do you make that work when you've got all this other stuff that has to happen? So the role of Bensfelds is to keep the kindness in the air, to keep it salient, to keep it something that we think about. And so what's lovely is that our programming is not prescriptive. It's not do these 7 things and you are the kindest kid ever, right? It is simply ideas and tools that hopefully can help you as you roll out and implement all of these character building good human programs that exist out in the community. And I know of 10, just in this room, that we get to facilitate with our kiddos, okay? That's hard. And so we recognize and respect and appreciate that you choose to still have Bensfelds be part of that. And we're really grateful for that thing, okay? So here's where the science comes into play. We all know there's some science when it comes to kindness. But before we do that, what I'm going to ask is the students to tell us how you think modeling or demonstrating kind behavior influences other students. And Hannah went first last time, so who am I looking at? I'll just like, I got you. Okay, there you go.
I think modeling kindness makes the students want to be kind. So if you're enthusiastic and want to be kind and you want to be a better person, then you're going to want to be like you. But if you're the opposite,
Ooh, what do you think about that?
Nice job.
I think role modeling is like a big deal because depending what
You're good. Say it out loud, friend. You're good.
what you do is somehow a way to say, because if you're kind, a lot of people like to be kind with you because it shows that you actually care.
So there's a great example of this. We have one of our board members whose child goes to Helena Foothills High School, has grown up with a mural at every school they've gone to, kind program at every school they've gone to, and a new student started 2 Fridays into the school year, right? Imagine starting high school, freshman, school's already started for 2 weeks, everybody's got their cliques, right? And 3 separate tables in the lunchroom stood up and invited them to come eat with them, right? That is keeping it up in the air. That's what modeling kindness looks like. Well done. Thank you, ladies. Okay. So the first is just, there's 4 pieces, and we'll go through, these are foundational and kind campus. You have seen these, and I just want you to think about some of the components that help us as we work with students every single day, and can give maybe a little bit of empathy and support for where children's minds are coming from. Okay, so the first one is called the negativity bias. We'll let you change over. So negativity bias. So Rick Hansen says, our brain is like Velcro to negative thoughts, and like Teflon. Those of you who don't cook, it's like that stuff that eggs don't stick to, right? Teflon to good thoughts, right? To positive ones. So what does that say? What do we hold on to? The positive memories or the negative memories? Yeah, we're all looking back like, oh yeah. Don't be hard on yourself. You're not a negative person, right? You're not a pessimist. This is understanding our brains as humans. We have evolved this way. This is the part of our brain that recognizes when something is different. Because back in the days, that meant like, I get stepped on by a woolly mammoth, right? Or, right, like my fire was spreading that I worked so hard, and like it was gonna burn down our entire establishment, right? So this is the part of our brain that all humans have. So if a student is being negative in your classroom or only remembering the bad things, or when you get home at night, your partner, when you ask how their day is, only tells you the bad stuff, it's not because they're a negative person. This is how our brains actually work. So that is okay to recognize that, to embrace that. When a child comes in and you ask how their weekend is, and like, well, mom broke her toe and I did this, right? It's just who they are as little humans. Their brains are the same as us, they're just not as developed, right? But they're the same brains we have. And so it's being thoughtful about controlling your brain and helping them to see positive. It's something called savoring, right? It's like a fine wine, right? And instead of a fine wine or the 7-course meal for all these foodies out there, Liz, I'm looking at you, our education person is my most food-motivated, driven person I've ever met, and I love her for that. It's like, do you want to go have lunch? And we're going to talk about something really hard? Yeah, let's go, right? And so for all you foodies out there, for all of you who love wine, it's called savoring. What it means is, instead of only telling the story about the snake, it's also talking about the mule deer and the beautiful wildflowers and the cold water on your feet. It's when you step away for a day or 2 or a week, going back and looking at those pictures. And we can train our brain to remember things differently. But you have to savor it to be able to do that. So that's for you personally, right, to think about, but it's also for you to help your students be able to do as well. Okay? So one of the things we're going to talk about is you as a community at your school. This is our workplace and that we think of our workplace as a social system, right? It's like another family. And some of us spend more times at school than we even see our own families and partners and kiddos, right? And so it's very important for us to have trust within this social system and to recognize that we want people to help us through what we're doing, but we also don't want to lose our individuality, and that's part of the human element too. So I'm going to let Monique go to this really great science here. Deborah Tannen calls it the double bind. I'm going to come way over here so that y'all can see it. So we need to get close to each other to have a sense of community, to feel like we're not alone. That's humans, right? That's who we are, okay? But we also need to keep our distance, right? We're independent. We want to show our successes as an individual, okay? So that people don't impose their thoughts on us. We want to stand strong and we want to have our successes. So that duality is the human condition right there. We're individual and social creatures. We need other people to survive, but we still want to be successful and survive as individuals, right? How many of y'all go grocery shopping and think you can carry every single bag in by yourself at one time, right? Upstairs to a garage, through rocks, gravel, whatever, and you're like, you get out and your arms, see it? Your arms are like bright red, right? We are individuals, right? And that's okay. But we can also use a little help to be successful and to have kindness. That is kindness for us, okay? So long story short, basically, we need each other, right? And so in a social system like work, we need to have that trust that we rely on each other. When someone says they're going to make the 50 photocopies you need before the third period, it has to be done, or that starts to lessen and lessen. And then we hold on to that if we're nice, not kind, and then it blows up somewhere down the road, right? So being thoughtful about meeting each other and being inspired by each other, okay? There's another part the Neuro Leadership Institute says, and you know, I think we all know this, but it's interesting to hear it from the researchers. What they say is that if you're not actively including, you're probably accidentally excluding. Here's why. We have a negativity bias. We've been talking about this, right? The snake versus the flowers. So to say or do something that someone rejects, it's just different in our brains. That's all it is. It's just different. Okay? We then think it's a potential threat. Okay? So for instance, perhaps, I'm just making like a fun version of this, but perhaps I really, really don't like the new cotton candy flavor of BG's. It is just gross to me, right? Absolutely, y'all have tried it. It's the same color as our amazing students' shirts. It's sticky. It's just really sweet, right? And so if someone invited me to go get a cotton candy BG's, I wouldn't want to go. So perhaps instead they just choose not to invite me, but the other 5 people in my office to go get this blue stuff, right? They're being kind. They know I hate it, and so they're not going to invite me. But what am I feeling in my head? Like left out, sad, right? Same thing is true when you're actively texting with someone, and then all of a sudden they don't text you back for like an hour. And then you send another one, and they don't text you back. They completely ghost you, and you think, what did I do wrong? And you're looking back like, what did I say? Was there something that I did offensive? Did they not like that last picture of my new Be Kind shirt? Like, what is it that's going on? Reality, they left their phone at home. They went into a movie, and they're respectful and turned it off, right? But the negativity bias is something that we need to check ourselves on a regular basis, because it's real, and it happens all the time. So that's understanding our social and emotional brains. It's who we are all as humans. So here's the next piece of it. This is self-awareness. This is being kind to yourselves and having awareness. There's something called noticing. Remember how I said you could train your brain earlier to think about the positive things in a negative situation? You can also do what's called strength training of your brain. It's called noticing, okay? Our brains very oftentimes have negative thoughts about ourselves without even realizing that we're doing it. Thanks, Moni. That was a good transition. You can go back. I was just saying thank you for putting up noticing. I didn't even see you put it up there. That was awesome. Kindness. So, strength training for your brain. Your brain, over time, will say, oh, if I just got up a little earlier, I could have done these 3 things for my family. If I just took a moment to do this instead, this would have been successful. Oh, I'm awful at Excel, right? Right? Or I am awful at math, right? Or how come I can't learn this? What is wrong with me? Or in that moment, man, I wish that I hadn't said that, right? We are unkind to ourselves in such a subconscious way that we don't realize it, and that negativity starts to just fester in our brains. So one of the things you can do is start to train your brain. And some of you who have gone through Kind Campus know this comes up. Is it, Liz? I don't think I'm spot. I think it's month 3 or 4 in Kind Campus, the noticing. Liz is the writer of all of our curriculum. We'll say it's month 3, we'll go 3. And so this is something that you actually have the programming to facilitate with your kiddos. It could be a rubber band, it could be my favorite little rainbow bracelet my 5-year-old made for me, whatever it is. When you think a negative thought, oh, I wish I had said that. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? How did you end up wearing mismatched socks today? Whatever it is, right? Teeny tiny things. You just simply take your bracelet off and move it to the other wrist. That's it. That's all you do. You don't stop. You don't change what you're thinking. You just move on and move it on your wrist. That's it. Easy, easy to do. Okay? And so every time you move that, you're thinking a negative thought. What happens over time? Say I'm moving it 15 times a day. What happens after the first week? A little less, right? And then over time, you're almost never moving this because you've started to control your brain and you're not thinking negative things in your own mind. And then you can stop, recognize the negativity, and say, how do I think positively about this? Right? How do I savor these good moments? And eventually then you move when you're having a positive thought. That's that trajectory you want to be on. So your kiddos, you can get a bunch of burrito bands from the dollar store for $1, and you can see them actively in their first couple weeks of school, moving the rubber bands back and forth, and they don't have to say a thing. You just see them doing it, and you know that Chloe has just had a moment they've been unkind, and they're thinking about that. So you can control the thoughts in your mind, you can control the negativity, and you also, I'll let Monique put that on for the next one, don't have to believe everything you think, right? That goes right in line with that someone goes to you on text message, right? It's not you. It's them just having a life. It's okay for them to have that life, right? So self-awareness is very important. Noticing you can control that in your brain. The next one is other awareness, and these are kind of shorter compared to that nice versus kind. I love this mural. This is one of my favorites. Okay? So empathy and compassion. So empathy is saying, I kind of like understand how you feel, right? Compassion is moving forward and saying, you know, I want to actually help you reduce that pain and suffering, right? And then the kindness is that finishing piece where you're actually doing something to help them, right? And so I will say this though, for those of us who are empaths, bring that on themselves, right? I'm seeing some nods. That can also be exhausting to go into the do category of this, right? And so, once again, creating those boundaries of being kind to not nice, because that can be really tricky, is to be able to say, I can help you with this, right? Your car broke down. I can help give you a ride for a week, and let's work together to find some other options. So like 3 months from now, you're still not like taxi to 4 people whose cars are broken down, okay? So you have that control, you have that ability to do that. And it's really important to understand that kindness is that ultimate progression between empathy all the way to compassion, okay? So my favorite is the platinum rule. How many of y'all, anybody who's done Kind Canvas might have heard this before. This is one of Jeanette's favorite things to talk about. How many of you all know the golden rule? What's the golden rule? Do unto others as you want to have done to you, right? Absolutely. We've heard that since we were teeny, tiny, okay? So, I'm gonna let Audrey hang with me for a second here. She worked so hard today, and I know her family, that tonight I'm going to bring you dinner. And I have a bunch of fresh tomatoes at my house, and I bought some yummy mozzarella, and I have fresh basil in the garden. I'm gonna make the most beautiful caprese salad with extra tomatoes. How does that sound? Disgusting. But I'm doing the golden rule. I'm doing unto you as I would have done to myself. That's what I'm making for dinner tonight, by the way. Come on over. Got a couple tomatoes. So instead, the platinum rule is to do unto others as they would want done unto them. And in this case, I know, because I spent 10 seconds asking this question today, that you want pasta and you want a salad sans tomatoes. She hates tomatoes. Who knew, right? And so in this moment, let's make it a little less playful and fun. Thank you for not eating tomatoes, right? Let's think about our world. We have students that when they do a great job, they want you to put up a billboard marquee to say how great they did. They finally turned their B and D around, right? And they are good now, right? You have the students who want everyone to feel connected to the biggest success they've had. But what do you have on the flip side? Quiet. They just want that one-on-one. Hey, you wrote a lowercase a right. Or hey, you actually filled in a full 5 paragraphs for your opinion piece that you had to write, right? For your 3rd grade moving forward in reading and writing test, right? That's very intimidating. So thinking about who your audience is really important. Also with your peers, right? It could be food, right? Like maybe I'm gluten-free, don't bring me bagels, right? Maybe there's certain things that I really enjoy. Maybe I only want oat milk, right? But at the end of the day, it's really important to know how it's going to land with that child, with your peer, with your administration, right, when they come by. And so thinking about what they want, culturally thinking about what they want, emotionally what they want. And that's what makes all of you great educators in this room, because you know what it takes to be the kings and queens of the platinum rule, okay? So the next part we're going to talk about is intention versus impact. And we kind of already shared a little bit about that, about how things are going to land. We do community time every day at the school our kiddos go to, and what that means is for a whole week, one class is in charge of announcements, singing a community song, coming up with kind words. There's all these things they have to do. Do you think every single kindergartner comes in, or every single 5th grader comes in, comfortable holding a microphone in front of the entire school for morning meeting? No, right? So it's recognizing how to do that. And maybe in kinder they won't do it, maybe in 1st they'll be like a backup singer, maybe in 2nd grade they'll take another step forward. By 5th grade, and we are seeing this at the school, by 5th grade, you have someone who is not comfortable, but will stand with a microphone and do the Pledge of Allegiance in front of the entire school in the morning. It's cool, right? It's really cool to see. So thinking about your intention versus impact, not forcing that to happen if it's really uncomfortable for them. Okay? So thinking about our moments of kindness and who we are, the last piece is to actually do kindness. I love this. I love seeing bumper stickers. We have tons of them here. Anybody who's willing to put one on there? Although I'll say you have to drive a little different. It took me a hot year before I was able to put one on my car. Right? It's okay, you have to drive a little more kind. See it laughter. It's true, right? But you have to be able to interact in a way, right? Oh, I'm gonna let you win. Even though I'm rushing, I'm gonna let you win. I don't find though, I have had it like fall off, like at the car wash or something, and not realized it was on. I think there's a true white paper that you've written on this. I get let in traffic more often when I have my magnet on. People are nice to me. People are kind to me. There's a difference, right? So, doing kindness. There's something called micro connections, and I'm going to let Monique go to that next slide about micro connections. This is the last science slide, I promise. Micro moments of connection. These are just the things that we were talking about over here, okay? Sharing a smile, expressing concern. Here's what this does, and I had tons of these little micro connections this morning, right? What school are you from? I love that shirt. I love where someone had the Be Kind to Necklace on. It's so cool, it's in rainbow, right? These are the micro connections you make with people. This is very easy to do. Here's what it does. We're talking 5, 10, 30 seconds or less, tiny. They improve your emotional resilience. Let's talk about like what this does for the social emotional wellness of your child, right? It boosts your immune system. Wait a minute, we have microconnections and less kiddos are out sick. Reduce susceptibility to depression or anxiety. And it takes 10 seconds. How are you doing? I love that shirt. Let me open the door for you. Okay? So what I'm going to ask is to think about what those micro connections look like with your peers, but then also with your students. And so I'm going to ask our friends to tell us about what you did at your school to have micro connections and to have kindness kind of stay in your mind. All right, y'all both got first one, so do you want to paper, rock, scissors, or who's going to take it? You'll do it? Yay, Hannah! Give Hannah some love for being a volunteer. All right. So what are some of the things that you have done or you have seen at your school that create those little micro connections or that bring kindness on campus?
Some micro connections that I see at my school is when people hold the door or they show people around. Friday, I had to show the student around. I chose to show the student around, and she was a really nice person, and she told me some things that I didn't know about her old school. It was Challenger, and it kind of was interesting to me because it looked like a really nice school, but then she's like, some people don't even care what they do. They can say about where they get away with it.
So different in your environment, right? Wow.
So micro connections that I see at my school is when when people hold the door or give compliments to others to make them smile.
I love that. So what we're going to do is just give a few examples now, just like these, for you to be able to see some fun things. So this is Harrelson. Is there anybody here from Harrelson today? No? Liz, do you know what this medium is? Is this like paint? Is this like little beans? Or like rocks? Oh, it's the kids standing on the field. See, I had no idea what this picture was. It's not rocks, they're kids. I love that. See what happens when I see a slide I don't know what it is. I just make it up. Love that. So we all have outside of our door, different things, right? Welcoming this year, we have different fun themes that we do, and so this one didn't cost a lot, but they actually used a little bit of paint and then had, instead of keeping them all green, they took our kind notes that are free online and they just cut out different colors to make the different flowers there. Kind of fun. This one was really great. This one didn't cost a whole lot if you're not allowed to paint the wall outside your door, right? This is just a bulletin board. Be kind to everyone. And these are just the kindness notes that the kids would write to each other. right? This one was around Valentine's Day. Liz and I went and read to the itty bitties over at Brifta. They're so cute, the 1 and 2 year olds. Like, we don't hold still. We don't need to. It's okay. But they have their kindness tree, and so they would do the kind notes, and you could write whatever you wanted about anyone on the campus that you wanted to. And so then throughout the day, and the weeks, and the month, teachers would go by and see like a cute little drawing, right, that the 3-year-old did of them playing with their teacher and how meaningful that was for them. So that was fun. These are both at Innovation Academy. Those might look familiar to you, Andre, right? So they took kind notes and made it into a sororo, which is cute, right? And then this is one of the coolest things. This is the base of the tree. It's in the cafeteria, correct? And the base of the tree is the same at the beginning of each year. And they have, these are kind notes, all different colors. And as students fill them out, the tree grows. There's also a special period of time in which we really focus on showing kindness. Is it like an 8-day period or 2 weeks?
Audrey made it up.
Audrey made it up. So these are just some great examples that you have here. So what I was going to ask, this is kind of fun to think about. Sometimes we have little waves coming our way, right? Just like go back to school on Monday, you never know what kiddos are going to be showing up. Sometimes it's back to school, right? Some days it's right before grading. Some days it's right before open house and your classroom is still in chaos and the kids' art that you want to show for the parents hasn't got put up yet. And so at the end of the day, kindness is simply one of your tools to help you ride above those waves, whether they are rollers or tsunamis. That is one of the things that, that is foundational for you to help get through that. Have you all seen these kind notes? They're free online. You sign up for Kind Campus, right? We have them here. We also have una nota amable, right, for you. You can put those on any color paper you want. We also have them for sale out there for you. So I like to write small things on that, right? Hannah, you did such a great job today. You represented Geico in an awesome way. Thanks so much. And Audrey, thank you for being an amazing leader and advocate of kindness. You did great today. Well done. And how many of y'all have seen kindness coins? Yeah, we're familiar with these. So what are your favorite ways to use these? Anybody have something you want to share? Favorite? This is the best part where we as a community practice, right? Yes.
We have, oh, no, I'm loud enough. Love that. I love to hear we have a wellness committee on our campus, and they actually promote a kindness for a child every week, and it's called Kindness on Campus. So the teachers will elect someone or the staff, and they do this cute little work, and it's on the Friday announcements, and then Kathy, she will take that child and have little kindness points for them, but then we took it one step further. We have a book vending machine, and so our kids get a coin, and they get to go and get a book out of the book machine.
Wow.
Can we get a picture of that? I'd love to highlight that. That's so fun.
We have one too. And we have our dragon dollars. Dragon is our mascot. And we turn it into dollars and then we point QR code to win some like mascot kindness. And you get that and then they can combine from store with different things and then you top it off with the machine.
So I'm hearing a kind store based on observed kindness that the children get that immediate gratification. That's amazing. How else are y'all using kindness coins? Over here, I got some wheeler peeps.
In the house.
Yes.
I use 2 different forms in my classroom. They have a little themselves one. They have 2 of them. And the students are able to do 1 and 2 rewards for each other. I have little plastic kindness coins. They can go and give a kindness coin to the student. But if it's something above and beyond, then they go and they get that spell one and the kids can work as a necklace for the day. So it's just, and then at the end of the month, whoever has the most kindness coins is
Did y'all hear that over there? You heard that process? That's amazing. What else are y'all doing out there with these kindness points?
So I actually used to work at Rentmeester, and at that time we would have like one or two of those same type of things, little coins on a necklace, and at the end of the day, our kids would go on to the club for the shoulder, and I get that kids, and they didn't get to wear that necklace. Although I had children for throughout those years, so we did not wear it at recess because
It won't come back. We know those kids.
they got credit for it.
I love that. So that's a great visual reminder. There's so much power in the visual reminders, right, of kindness. That is a perfect example. We also had Innovation Academy that did a science fair experiment with these. And you might need to add more details to this, but they actually purchased quite a few of these. And then the science experiment was to see how they traveled, right? They were numbered, and there was a way for them to be able to track their movement. And it wasn't to keep, right? Although a lot of kiddos really covet these, and so that was hard, right? But it wasn't to keep, it was for them to move around and observe kindness. And then they measured the perceived level of kindness on campus before all of those coins moved around and after. It went through the SAACA round, and it won at SAACA. It was one of the coolest science fair experiments. I mean, of course, I'm really going to always love anything about kindness with science fair projects, but it was really cool to see how those moved through the campus. Do you recall how many times they moved? It was outstanding.
So it was, I'm gonna give the name, it was Ella Avey and Amelia, I'm not gonna remember her last name, but they're in high school, so it's okay. They bought 50 coins and they made like a little card to sit on them that said, if you find this, thank you for being kind, please pass it on. We're attracting kindness, can you email my teacher? And they just signed it E and A, so they didn't even know if it was girl or boy. And then what they did is they surveyed their classmates who was going to the airport. And they asked that not in Tucson, but when they transferred planes that they gave it out. And they went all over the world. I think the only continent was, we didn't have was Antarctica. But they kept track of it in a notebook, and I just printed the emails so that I didn't do anything. And I can actually take it a step further. One of the coins went to somebody we know. It ended up at the dad's house. And the dad emailed, like, I have this coin, it is the most special thing, thank you. The dad passed away. I printed the email out. I don't know why I saved it, but I sent it to the child because said, see if you can find your dad's coin. And the kid was like, thank you, it meant so much to me. But that's like 4 years, I think, now. So it was pretty awesome how one came back, and that was in Virginia. So they did it at the airport, and they didn't actually hand it out. I think we handed out a couple because we were traveling, and only out of Tucson. So it's basically, I think they only had 20 back.
Out of 50.
Out of 50.
Look at that kindness. You never know where that ripple goes, right? You never know where that ripple
It's
goes.
still going.
It is. It continues to grow, and that's part of our actions every single day. You never know, and we have our kindness coins that the kiddos can put on field trips. We can do to-go boxes that they can just do it in your school if that's easier for you. It's less, less of a chaos to get a bus and everything in the district. But it's great for kids to make them, to see them, to have them in their hands. It's something very easy for them to do. And I know that I have two very, very special people here that have gotten their chance to have their kindness points for being here today, so thank you. So it's almost time for a quick break. I'll show you my favorite example of how this has inspired someone in my world. I went to Starbucks about 2 months ago. There was a barista there, and the person in front of me had obviously not had their coffee yet, right? We have met these people. They're not kind people without their coffee. And so they were not just unkind, they were berating, they were belittling, they were bullying. It was very inappropriate. And I saw this barista finish with them, She didn't break stride. She stayed positive, she stayed kind, she didn't give it back, which she could have very easily. Got them out of their way, brought them down so they could go pick up their really complicated drink, right? It was like $20 for a drink. And I saw her as soon as they left, she went, and I thought, she is bracing herself in case I'm an unkind person, right? So, and we have that, like we all have that, like the customer service, or like you've had a rough day, and this kiddo comes up, or your kids come up and just want to tell you all this stuff. You're like, I am exhausted. My battery life, I stole this from my coworker, Monique. She comes home and is like, my battery life is at about 15%. I'm going to need you to be 85, right? And so I could see that in her. I did my simple order, gave her a little tip, pretty good tip, and then I gave her one of these, right? And she knew what it was, and she teared up a little bit, and she just, you could see it grounded her and centered her.